I'm Colt Hamilton. I've been here at Hamilton Native Outpost for 27 plus years managing livestock. Got a lot of practical experience there, but barely graduated high school.
I'm Cleo. I graduated from the University of Missouri with a degree in animal science and an emphasis in ruminant nutrition. And I'm here at Hamilton Native Outpost learning how to manage grasslands for the purpose of raising livestock. All right, so Colt, we were talking about what you're baling and what you're using that for.
Most people don't realize that hay around here in the Ozarks anyway is probably selling for $50 a bale. So about $50 for a 700 to 1,000 pound bale.
Okay.
If you give that to an animal nutritionist, they'll pick it apart and say there's not that much forage in there. I mean, we're talking a group of 30 cows will eat 2 of those bales a day.
Okay.
So there's not that much nutritional value in there for $100.
Right, they need a lot of dry matter.
They need a lot, about 30 pounds for an
to get what
animal.
they're needing.
Correct. But if you give that to a soils person and they take it apart based on the nutrients that's in that bale, $55 a bale is cheaper than buying the fertilizer down at the fertilizer plant.
Okay.
And it's in a better form for you. It's not a chemical fertilizer. So when you put it on more naturally with the grass and it decomposes, you don't get a high acid soil like you would putting chemical fertilizer on and not adding lime to negate the acid. So there's a lot of, and there's also, you got the micronutrients that you don't get at the fertilizer plant. You've got a lot of nutrients, and it's a lot, you get a lot different response from your crop by adding the hay instead of, the other thing you don't get when you buy fertilizer is organic matter. And you get organic matter out of the hay bale as well.
And then organic matter is adding to moisture and...
Yep.
Okay.
And the organic matter, and Elizabeth did a nice video, and I'll probably get the facts all wrong. So take a milk crate sized amount of soil, increase the organic matter by 1%, and it could hold like 2 gallons more water in that milk crate than what it does.
More organic matter is you're holding on to more moisture.
That's the sponge that keeps it held up there for drought.
When you're using bales and you're placing them out on your pastures to do bison or cattle or whatever, how do you think what about that do you think is better than going and applying fertilizer? Like the distribution that you're getting with the bales, obviously you're still controlling it by where you're putting the bales, but I mean, when you're applying fertilizer, I feel like you're applying a pretty even layer.
Yep.
So when you're doing bales, how does that work?
So it's a great question, and I've only been doing this for about 2 years, actually feeding bales on wildflower seed production areas. So I'm learning as I go. The first thing I noticed when I done it, I had a very strippy effect, where you unrolled the hay bale, you got the most nutrients, and then you had manure and urine patches outside of that. So it progressively got really green strip, slightly less green on each side, and then kind of back to just normal color until you hit the next bale strip.
Right.
The places I've done this for 2 years, I think I have enough soil microbiology going on between the funguses and the bacteria that they're now dispersing that underground sideways. I don't any longer, in the places where I fed hay the longest, I don't get the strippy effect anymore.
Now you said you didn't necessarily need to feed hay during the winter, but you're doing it to support and promote soil health. When you're unrolling those hay bales, I guess waste you're not considering that? Because when you unroll it, you're getting more waste than if you would just feed it whole or feed it in a bale feeder.
So the way I will do that is in the fall, I make a plan of where I want to feed the hay, where I want to get the nutrients at. And then I will hold the bison in a particular fenced in area that contains the area that I want to feed it. And I'll let them graze what they want out of there. And then when they start to get hungry, I'll start to unroll hay on that area. And so that's how I get the hay where I want it. So I kind of have to make the bison hungry.
And you're mitigating waste by kind of letting them get hungry.
And what I'll do, we'll bunch our bison up where it'll be like 150 a head in a herd. And I'll unroll as much hay as they will eat in 1 to 2 days.
Okay, which is about what?
Oh, if 150 head, the pasture around won't be completely depleted. So, you know, we'll probably start out at the first there. We'll probably unroll about 3 bales a day, or 3 bales at a time. And to help mitigate the waste, well, two things. None of it's wasted because whatever's left will
Right.
rot and decompose. So,
Right.
But then
Waste in terms of what you're feeding the animal.
right. And I do find that I get a significant higher amount of utilization of the hay by the plants if it runs through the bison. So if it comes out as manure and urine versus hay that didn't get fed. So I find that it decomposes better, stays in most of what winds up on top of the ground is leftover hay, just gets UV light breaks it down and it gets oxidized, and a lot of the components go back up into the environment. Microbes will work on what's in contact with the soil.
Okay.
But back to your other question on utilization, where I'm kind of limit feeding them, I will feed them until they consume what I put out. I won't feed them another bale. So I can kind of get fairly high utilization. I'd say we're about 70%, 75% utilization by unrolling it.